A man got fined for the shadow his tree made. Another family got fined because their kid drew hopscotch on a sidewalk. Someone got a violation for a puddle in their own driveway after it rained. These are not jokes. These are real HOA fines. Here are 101 of the absolute dumbest. 1. A guy in Texas got fined $200 for painting his house the wrong shade of beige. Not the wrong color, the wrong shade. His HOA had 12 approved beiges. 12. They invented a problem that did not exist in a color whose entire job description is "do not attract attention." And beige failed. 2. Parking your own truck in your own driveway got a retired teacher in Florida a fine. His F-150 was classified as a commercial vehicle that lowered property values. The Ford F-150, the best-selling vehicle in America. Technically, that HOA just declared most of the country's driveways a code violation. 3. Growing tomatoes in a Colorado front yard earned one woman a fine for being unsightly. Her neighbor had half-dead crabgrass and nobody cared. So the HOA position was clear. Grass that is actively dying? Fine. Food that is actively growing? Unacceptable. At least their priorities are consistent. Consistently insane. 4. Hopscotch and chalk on a sidewalk triggered a violation notice in Arizona. A child drew on concrete with something that disappears in rain. Which, fair point, in Arizona could take about 8 months. Some grown adult saw a kid playing outside and decided the correct response was formal documentation. 5. $75 for leaving a garage door open during the day. In Virginia, the man was doing yard work and going in and out. He used his garage the way every garage on Earth is supposed to be used, and the HOA invoiced him for it. They monetized a man doing chores in his own home. 6. Christmas lights. On November 28th, 2 days before the HOA-approved window. That is all it took for a violation notice. 2 days of premature holiday spirit cost this family actual money. The Grinch never lived on a mountain. He lived in a subdivision and had a copy of the community guidelines. 7. Welcome-ish. That doormat earned a South Carolina homeowner a $100 fine for violating community aesthetic standards. A doormat. The thing that exists specifically for people to drag dirty boots across. Someone on that board looked down at a floor accessory and took it as a personal attack on their vision for the neighborhood. 8. A basketball hoop in a Georgia driveway got flagged as an unapproved recreational structure. Standard hoop, kids used it after school. The HOA decided children playing outside was the real threat to property values. Every single person on that board peaked in middle school, and they have been on a power trip ever since. 9. Not the tree, the shadow. A homeowner caught a fine because the shadow his tree cast fell across common area grass and supposedly damaged it. This man got charged real money for the absence of sunlight, a naturally occurring event that happens every single day. That board must have a full meltdown during every solar eclipse. 10. A 12-inch birdbath earned a Florida woman a fine for an unapproved decorative structure. 12 inches. A garden gnome would look down on this thing. But somehow that tiny concrete bowl of rainwater was classified as the single biggest threat to suburban real estate values in the whole zip code. 11. A quarter-inch of grass. That is what triggered a $50 a day fine in one North Carolina neighborhood. The width of a pencil tip. Some HOA rep actually drove out, knelt down with a ruler, measured a stranger's lawn, wrote a violation, and drove home feeling like a hero. That person votes in local elections. 12. The American flag on your own porch. In America, a Nevada woman got fined because the HOA required prior written approval and a certified flagpole for all flag displays. The Stars and Stripes needed a permission slip to exist on private property. Somewhere out there, a bald eagle just quietly retained an attorney. 13. Backyard trampoline. Behind a 6-foot privacy fence. Still fined, the HOA said it was visible from elevated vantage points, which means somebody climbed to their second floor, looked over a fence, spotted a trampoline, and instead of questioning their own life choices, started filling out a formal complaint. 14. Faded roof shingles. From sun exposure, over 10 years. The HOA demanded a full roof replacement to restore color uniformity. They fined a man for the sun doing what the sun has been doing for 4.5 billion years. Nature does not care about your community guidelines and never will. 15. A retired veteran caught a fine for a small bench in his front yard where he sat every morning drinking coffee. The HOA called it unapproved outdoor furniture. This man went overseas, came back in one piece, sat down in his own yard, and found out a committee with a clipboard was the final boss he never saw coming. 16. Trash cans left on the curb 14 minutes past the HOA's retrieval window in New Jersey. 14 minutes. The garbage truck was late, but the HOA fined the homeowner anyway. Punishing people for things entirely outside their control is not a side effect of HOA culture. It is the whole product. 17. One HOA sent a violation notice because a homeowner's cat was sitting in a front window too frequently, and it was considered an unattended visual nuisance. A cat, sitting in a window, doing what every cat on Earth does. The HOA tried to regulate a species that does not acknowledge human authority on its best day. 18. A family in Ohio got fined because their doghouse was 6 inches taller than HOA rules allowed. 6 inches. On a doghouse. In a backyard. Built for an animal that eats shoes. The dog never received a copy of the violation letter, but honestly, he would have handled the appeal process with way more dignity. 19. A beehive. One single managed hive in a fenced backyard in Oregon, set up to help pollinate a home garden. The HOA fined the homeowner for maintaining an unauthorized insect habitat. He was helping the ecosystem. The board was defending the right of a suburban backyard to contain absolutely nothing interesting or alive. 20. Fish mailbox. A Maryland homeowner installed a mailbox shaped like a largemouth base. The HOA demanded a standard black rectangle. Was the fish ugly? Probably. Was it the most interesting thing on that entire street by a factor of 1,000? Without question. But the HOA chose conformity, because originality is a code violation. 21. Front door. Painted red. Classic, all-American red. An Arizona HOA fined the homeowner because red was not on the approved color list of 47 options. 47 shades to choose from, and somehow the most iconic front door color in the country did not make the cut. That committee met, discussed it, and still chose wrong. 22. 3 garden gnomes in a Pennsylvania front yard triggered a violation for excessive decorative items. Not 30. 3. Small ceramic guys standing in mulch, bothering nobody. The limit was 2. So the homeowner had to pick which gnome got banished. Somewhere in a landfill right now, a tiny bearded man stares into the void. 23. A homeowner in Texas built a wheelchair ramp for his wife after her surgery. No approval. Immediate fine. The board told him to submit an architectural review form and wait 6 to 8 weeks. She needed the ramp now. The HOA needed to feel important now. Guess which one the board prioritized? 24. Solar panels on a roof in Nevada, one of the sunniest states in America. The HOA fined the homeowner for an unaesthetic rooftop modification. They looked at a device that turns free sunlight into free electricity and told a man to take it down. Some people just really enjoy writing checks to the power company. 25. One wind chime on a back porch got a Georgia homeowner fined for noise pollution. Not a drum kit, not a rooster at dawn. A small tube of hollow metal that makes a gentle sound when the air moves. The HOA looked outside, heard nature interacting with an object, and wrote a formal complaint about it. 26. Parking his car on the public street directly in front of his own house got an Oregon man a fine. Not blocking anything. Not expired tags. Just parked. On a city-maintained road the HOA does not own, does not fund, and has zero legal authority over. But authority and HOAs have always had a very loose relationship. 27. Dirty car. Road dust on the hood after a long drive got a North Carolina homeowner a violation for vehicle appearance standards. Not abandoned. Not on blocks. Dusty. From being driven. on roads, like cars do. That board would fine the rain for leaving water spots if they could figure out where to send the notice. 28. One dandelion. A single weed in an otherwise perfect lawn earned a Virginia homeowner a formal violation letter. 1. The postage alone probably cost more than a bottle of weed killer. 3 follow-up notices were sent. 3. For a plant that a 5-year-old could remove with one pull. 29. Kids left a tricycle on the front porch overnight, and the next morning, their parents had a warning letter for storing unapproved items in a visible area. A tricycle belonging to a 4-year-old. Some HOA rep drove past at dawn, spotted a tiny bike, and felt a genuine rush of regulatory adrenaline. 30. Political yard signs. Love them or hate them, they are everywhere during election season, but one Michigan HOA fined a homeowner for a sign supporting a local school board candidate. Not the presidency, a school board race. The sign was under 12 inches tall. Nobody else on the entire planet cared about that election except the HOA. 31. Purple petunias in a Tennessee front yard earned a fine because only white, pink, or red flowers were approved. They color-coded nature. A living organism grew out of the dirt, bloomed, looked beautiful, and a committee decided it was the wrong kind of beautiful. That flower never had a chance. 32. Grilling burgers on your own patio on a Sunday earned an Arizona homeowner a violation for smoke visible from neighboring units. He was cooking at his house. The HOA effectively criminalized the smell of grilled meat in a residential neighborhood. That is genuinely the most un-American sentence on this entire list. 33. Security camera. Pointed at his own front door, on his own house. A Texas HOA flagged it as a surveillance concern. The camera faced his property and nothing else. The board said it made neighbors uncomfortable. So the guy trying to protect his home was the problem, not the people who might rob it. 34. Collecting rainwater off a roof into a barrel in Texas got a homeowner fined for an unapproved exterior container. Water fell from the sky, hit a house, and rolled into a bucket. And someone had a problem with it. The HOA tried to penalize a man for catching gravity. Gravity does not read bylaws. 35. A satellite dish the size of a dinner plate got an Oklahoma homeowner fined for an obtrusive rooftop installation. Federal law actually protects the right to install small satellite dishes. The HOA either did not know that or did not care. Both options are equally on brand for an organization that thrives on selective ignorance. 36. Changing his own oil in his own garage on a Saturday earned an Idaho homeowner a fine for conducting commercial activity. The garage door was open. He had a wrench and a drain pan. The HOA saw basic car maintenance and immediately assumed some kind of criminal enterprise. Very balanced, very rational people. 37. A bird feeder hanging from a tree branch got a Minnesota HOA violation for hosting an unapproved wildlife attraction device. Those are real words, on an official document. Someone typed wildlife attraction device, printed it, mailed it, and at no point in that entire process felt even slightly ridiculous about what they were doing. 38. A lemon tree in a Florida backyard got fined as an unapproved agricultural installation. Agricultural. One tree, producing maybe 8 lemons a year. Nobody was running a citrus empire back there. The homeowner grew fruit and the HOA acted like she was operating a commercial farm behind a privacy fence. 39. Wrong shade of fence stain. Natural cedar when the HOA required honey oak. Both brown, both identical from 10 feet away. But someone on the architectural review board could tell the difference, and that person desperately needs a hobby that does not involve comparing 2 nearly identical wood tones under direct sunlight. 40. A window AC unit visible from the street earned a New Jersey homeowner a fine during a 98-degree heat wave. The HOA demanded removal or relocation to a window that did not face the road. Their official position was that curb appeal mattered more than a human being not overheating inside their own house. 41. Beware of dog. That sign on a fence in Indiana triggered a fine for unapproved signage that implies a dangerous animal. The dog was a golden retriever named Biscuit. 60 pounds of tail, wagging, and face licking. The HOA read that sign and imagined a wolf. Biscuit would probably lick the entire board to death. 42. Wrong mulch. Red mulch in a flower bed when the HOA required brown or natural. A homeowner in Pennsylvania spent a weekend landscaping, bought 40 bags, spread it all, stepped back to admire the work, and then opened a letter fining her for choosing a mulch color the board found emotionally distressing. 43. An RV parked behind a locked gate covered with an approved tarp in a homeowner's own side yard. Still fined. A 2-square-foot corner of beige fabric was visible from the road, and the HOA treated it like a billboard advertising the total collapse of neighborhood civilization. 2 square feet of fabric. 44. Drying clothes on a backyard clothesline earned a South Carolina homeowner a fine for visual clutter. Sheets drying in the sun. The way every human on Earth dried clothes for all of recorded history before the dryer existed. The HOA looked at a tradition older than electricity and said it was not up to code. 45. A dog barked twice during an HOA board meeting at the community pool. The dog was inside its owner's home, across the street. 2 barks traveled maybe 200 feet and briefly interrupted a conversation about approved fence paint. The owner still got a noise violation for 2 barks from a different property. 46. Pink flamingo. Just one. Standing in a flower bed. A lawn ornament so universally American it should be on money. But an Alabama HOA classified it as novelty decor and demanded removal. They took down a flamingo in the South, where yard personality is practically a protected right. Shameful. 47. Wrong species of grass. A homeowner had Bermuda grass in a neighborhood that mandated St. Augustine. Both green. Both grass. Both doing the exact same job. But the HOA identified the wrong species and reacted like the man had intentionally planted a biohazard in his front yard out of pure spite. 48. Hosting a garage sale without an HOA permit cost one Ohio family $200 in fines. More than they earned at the sale itself. They sold used baby clothes and an old blender. The HOA made more money from the violation than the family made from the entire event. A perfect little HOA economy. 49. Amazon packages sitting on a porch for 4 hours triggered a violation in one Texas subdivision for unsightly exterior storage. Packages delivered while the homeowner was at work. The HOA essentially invented a new crime based on shipping logistics and a person's inability to teleport home from their job. 50. Too many cars. A birthday party in a suburban Minnesota neighborhood drew 8 cars parked on the street, and the homeowner got fined for excessive guest traffic. 8 cars. At a birthday party. The HOA put a cap on how many friends you are allowed to have over. That is not a rule. That is a lonely person's revenge. 51. Wrong font on a house number. A homeowner in California used a modern style, and the HOA demanded serif lettering, a font, on a number. That exists so the ambulance can find your house in an emergency. The HOA decided typographic consistency was more important than paramedicine. Incredible commitment to nonsense. 52. Mowing the lawn in diagonal lines instead of straight rows earned a Virginia homeowner a landscaping violation. Right height, right species, freshly cut, just wrong geometry. The HOA now has official opinions about mowing angles. Nobody is safe, nowhere is safe. Your lawn lines will be judged. 53. A purple porch light in support of Domestic Violence Awareness Month got an Alabama homeowner fined for non-approved exterior lighting color. White and warm white were the only options. She lit a light for a cause. The HOA protected beige. Guess which one had enforcement power and absolutely no soul? 54. A sports team flag on a house bracket got a Missouri homeowner fined 6 hours after he put it up on game day. The HOA said all flags required written approval 72 hours in advance. So rooting for your team now requires the same advanced planning as a dental appointment. Spontaneous joy is a violation. 55. A garden hose left on the lawn after watering earned a Texas homeowner a fine for improperly stored equipment. He was watering his yard, which the HOA also required him to do. So the tool he needed to follow one rule was itself a violation of another rule. The system working exactly as intended. 56. A kiddie pool, inflatable, in a fenced backyard, $11 at a drugstore. A Maryland HOA fined the homeowner for an unapproved temporary recreational structure. It held 30 gallons of water and one happy toddler. And a grown adult in a committee meeting looked at the situation and formally voted to classify a plastic circle as architecture. 57. A TV visible through a living room window at night got a homeowner in Georgia a fine for light pollution affecting community aesthetics. He was watching football in his own house with his own television. Someone outside saw the screen glow and decided a man relaxing at home was an environmental hazard. 58. A small wreath on a front door in December got a Connecticut homeowner fined because hanging decorations required written board approval. A wreath, the least offensive object ever created. A circle of leaves that says absolutely nothing controversial. The HOA still found a way to take issue with it. 59. An outdoor rug on a back patio triggered a fine in one Arizona HOA for unapproved ground covering. A rug. On concrete, under a table, behind a house. The only way to see it was to physically enter the backyard, which means the inspector trespassed first. That feels like the bigger violation here. 60. Replacement windows. Better insulation, more efficient, lower energy bills, still fined. Because the new white was not the same as the old white. A Virginia HOA demanded they be ripped out and replaced again. This man improved his home and was punished for it. Progress itself was the violation. 61. Shoes. Two pairs of sneakers sitting on a porch mat got a Florida homeowner a violation for cluttered entryway. They were on a mat. A mat made for shoes. Doing exactly what shoes do when they are not on feet. Less of a neighborhood policy, more of a warning sign about the people enforcing it. 62. Know what is worse than a compost bin? Living near someone who has feelings about yours. A Wisconsin homeowner got fined for composting food scraps in his own backyard. The board called it an unpleasant sensory environment. The man was turning banana peels into soil and got treated like he was running a landfill. 63. $200 for playing music in a backyard on a Saturday at 2 in the afternoon. A New Mexico HOA classified it as excessive recreational noise. The volume was lower than a lawnmower. Mowers, by the way, were perfectly fine. So engines get a pass, but a Bluetooth speaker crosses the line. 64. New front door hardware. Brushed nickel knob and matching deadbolt. Looked great. An Ohio HOA fined the homeowner within a week because the approved finish was oil-rubbed bronze. A doorknob. The thing you touch for 1 second while entering your own home needed committee approval, and apparently did not get it. 65. How does a swing set in a fenced backyard become a code violation? Easy. A Michigan HOA labeled it an unauthorized permanent play structure. 4 legs, 2 chains, 1 plastic seat. Not cemented, not permanent, fully removable. But the board treated it like the homeowner poured a concrete stadium in the yard. 66. Oil stain on a driveway, size of a dinner plate, from a small car leak already being repaired. A New Jersey HOA started a daily fine until the homeowner pressure washed it clean. The car was already at the shop. The stain was already fading. But the HOA needed someone to punish and the concrete was right there. 67. Not the driveway, not the yard, the inside of a garage, with the door open. A Tennessee HOA fined a homeowner because his garage interior was not aesthetically organized. They walked past, looked in, judged a man's storage system, and sent a letter. That is not a violation. That is just being nosy with a budget. 68. A 70-year-old man in Indiana was fined for sitting in a lawn chair in his front yard too often. The HOA said prolonged stationary presence on a front lawn was a visual disturbance. A man sitting in a chair, quietly, disturbing nothing but the fragile sensibilities of whoever typed that complaint with a straight face. 69. 12 potted plants on a front porch. The limit was apparently 11. That 12th geranium was the tipping point between charming suburban gardening and, according to the HOA, complete ecological chaos. One pot, one flower. Somewhere a line was crossed that no reasonable person has ever been able to locate. 70. Backing into a driveway earned a Washington homeowner a fine because all vehicles had to face the street when parked. Not on the lawn, not blocking anything. Just nose out instead of nose in. The direction a parked, stationary, turned-off car faces while doing absolutely nothing is now apparently a matter of community concern. 71. A mailbox post tilted 2 inches after a storm in Alabama. The homeowner was 83 years old and got 14 days to fix it or face escalating fines. Real strong move from the board. Going after a grandmother over 2 inches of wind damage. If that is not peak HOA courage, nothing is. 72. House guests. A Nevada HOA fined a homeowner because her mother stayed more than 14 days. Her own mother. In her own guest room. The board essentially put a timer on family visits and sent an invoice when it expired. Imagine explaining to your mom that the neighborhood association has opinions about her travel plans. 73. One rock. A decorative boulder in a Utah front yard triggered a fine for being an unapproved hardscape element. A single rock. In a state literally surrounded by mountains made of rock, the HOA somehow found a way to have a problem with geology itself. Next, they will fine the tectonic plates for shifting without a permit. 74. Wildflowers. A homeowner in Oregon let part of her lawn grow into a small meadow to help local pollinators. Fine for unmaintained lawn area. She was helping bees survive. The board was defending grass. One of those things actually matters for the ecosystem, and the HOA enthusiastically sided with the grass. 75. A small scarecrow in a garden bed in October got an Alabama homeowner fined for seasonal decor outside the approved display window. A scarecrow. A decoration literally designed for autumn, displayed in autumn, doing its one seasonal job during its one season. The HOA overruled the calendar. 76. Bumper sticker on a car parked in a Georgia driveway. The HOA fined the homeowner because the sticker was visible from the street and counted as unauthorized signage. She drives that car everywhere else with zero issues. But the second it sat in her driveway, a bumper sticker became an illegal sign. Location changed the law. 77. Firewood. Stacked neatly against the side of a house in Montana. Fine for unapproved exterior storage material. Firewood. In Montana, where winter arrives in September and does not leave until it feels like it. They told a man in one of the coldest states in America to hide the thing keeping his family warm. 78. Selling candles from her kitchen online got a Texas homeowner fined for operating a commercial business. No sign, no customers. She poured wax into jars and shipped them quietly through the mail. The HOA discovered her Etsy shop and responded like she had opened a refinery at the end of the cul-de-sac. 79. 3 chickens, no rooster. Behind a fence in Alabama. Quiet little hens producing maybe an egg a day each. The HOA classified it as an unauthorized livestock operation. 3 hens is barely a hobby. But the board reacted like the man was operating a full-scale poultry facility and supplying restaurants. 80. A camping tent in a backyard for a kid's birthday sleepover. One night. 8-year-olds with sleeping bags and flashlights. A Minnesota HOA fined the homeowner for erecting a temporary unauthorized structure. Someone on that board saw children having an adventure and felt a deep, urgent need to intervene. 81. Running on the common area grass. Not a dog, a person, jogging. An Arizona HOA told the homeowner she could walk but not run because running creates excessive wear on landscaped surfaces. Walking fine, fast walking fine, but both feet leaving the ground at the same time? Violation. Speed itself was the crime. 82. A tire swing. Rope and rubber hanging from an oak tree in a South Carolina backyard. The HOA fined the homeowner for an unauthorized suspended recreational apparatus. Those are real words that a real adult typed onto a real document about a tire on a rope. Nobody stopped them. Nobody intervened. Nobody should have had to. 83. Singing. In a backyard. On a weekend afternoon, a homeowner in Georgia got a noise complaint turned into a fine because her singing was audibly intrusive to adjacent properties. She was not performing a concert. She was humming while gardening. The HOA fined a woman for making sound with her own mouth in her own yard. 84. Projecting a movie on the garage door for a neighborhood movie night. Popcorn, lawn chairs, kids on blankets. A Maryland HOA shut it down and fined the homeowner for unauthorized use of an exterior surface for display purposes. Community bonding penalized. Everyone went home. The HOA won. Nobody else did. 85. Spider webs on a porch. Natural ones. Made by actual spiders who did not read the community guidelines. A Virginia homeowner was fined for failure to maintain exterior cleanliness. Spiders built webs overnight. The homeowner got punished at dawn. The spiders received no citation because spiders do not have mailboxes. 86. Extension cord. Running from a garage outlet to a backyard string light setup for a dinner party. Visible for about 4 hours on a Saturday evening. An Illinois HOA fined the homeowner for temporary exterior wiring in violation of aesthetic codes. A cord. Plugged in for a dinner, gone by 10, documented forever. 87. Sprinkler. Water landing on 2 feet of sidewalk during the lawn watering earned an Arizona homeowner a fine for irrigation overshoot. 2 feet of wet concrete that dried in about 8 minutes under desert sun. In a state where the ground is begging for moisture every single day, that slight overspray was the real emergency. 88. Wrong shutter style. A homeowner in Indiana replaced rotting shutters with the same color but a slightly different panel design. Raised panels instead of flat. The shutters were 3 stories up. You would need binoculars to notice. Somebody on that committee absolutely owned a pair and had been waiting for exactly this moment their entire life. 89. 70-pound Labrador. Friendly, trained, certified therapy dog. A Kansas HOA fined the owner for exceeding the 50-pound pet weight limit. The dog had passed a behavioral exam. The board had not. One of them was calm, patient, and reasonable under pressure, and every single person reading this knows it was not the committee. 90. Painted rocks. A homeowner's kids decorated small stones with ladybugs and smiley faces and placed them in a garden bed. A Texas HOA issued a notice for unauthorized decorative landscape modifications. Art by children, on rocks, in mulch. Noticed by almost nobody except one person with a clipboard and a severely empty schedule. 91. Outdoor shower in a beach town. Built to rinse off sand before going inside. Standard coastal living. A North Carolina HOA fined the homeowner for an unapproved plumbing fixture. They built a community near the ocean and then acted personally offended when someone installed something designed for people who visit the ocean. 92. A puddle in a driveway after a rainstorm. A Louisiana homeowner caught a drainage violation because water sat in a low spot for over a day. They fined a human being because gravity pulled rainwater into a dip in concrete. At this point, the HOA is not enforcing rules. They are just mad at physics. 93. Bug zapper on a back patio. Doing its one job, killing mosquitoes. A Mississippi HOA fined the homeowner for unapproved electrical devices creating light and noise. The light was dim blue. The sound was a tiny zap. Mosquitoes are out here spreading actual disease, and this board officially took their side. 94. Garage door left unpainted for 3 weeks while a homeowner waited for the correct approved color to arrive on backorder. A New Hampshire HOA fined him weekly during the wait. The color was unavailable. The hardware store confirmed it. The HOA fined him anyway. Patience was not listed in their bylaws. 95. A weight bench visible through an open garage door on a Tuesday morning. A Florida homeowner got fined for storing recreational equipment in a manner visible to the community. He was working out in his own garage, at his own house. Someone drove past, saw a man exercising, and felt it warranted formal intervention. 96. A chalk height chart on the inside of a fence post where a family tracked their kids' growth every summer. A Texas HOA called it defacement of an approved structure. Pencil marks on wood, facing inward, recording childhood. The only way to see it was to open the gate, walk in, and look, which someone clearly did. 97. Patio umbrella. Wrong color. A homeowner in Arizona had dark green on her back patio, and the HOA required beige or tan. Green. Outside, in a yard full of plants. The board officially declared that the color green was inappropriate for an outdoor environment. Read that one more time and let it really sink in. 98. Weather vane on a rooftop. Rooster-shaped. Classic American design older than the country itself. An Iowa HOA fined the homeowner for an unauthorized rooftop ornament. A device that tells you which way the wind blows. Fitting, because that board has clearly never known which way the wind blows on anything. 99. Outdoor cat. Roaming the neighborhood. A Kentucky homeowner got fined for allowing an unleashed animal on community property. Nobody leashes a cat. Nobody in recorded history has ever successfully told a cat where it can and cannot go. That rule was written by someone who has never locked eyes with a cat and won. 100. A front yard oak tree exceeded the 15-foot height limit and the HOA demanded it be trimmed or removed. 20 years old. It was there before the subdivision existed. A living thing that predated the HOA by 2 full decades was told to shrink or disappear. The tree did not sign the agreement. It was there first. 101. A homeowner in South Carolina built his house 2 years before the HOA was even formed. The developer moved in later, created the association, and started mailing fines retroactively. Rules that did not exist when he built now applied to everything he built. They rewrote history and sent him the bill. That might be the dumbest one on this entire list. 101 reasons to read the fine print before you buy a house. Now here is a challenge. Comment the worst HOA rule that exists in your neighborhood right now. Not one from this video. Yours. The one you are personally living under. Let us see if the comment section can build a 102nd entry for this list. Like this video if even one of these fines made you physically angry, and subscribe because this channel keeps finding stories you will not hear anywhere else.